Let's start with the next keynote session, that is the role of CFO in driving sustainability, exploring ESG as a strategic imperative for finance leader. For that, I would like to invite Mr. Shailesh Agrawal, VP Finance, Quest Global. Mr. Shailesh Agrawal is a versatile business leader with spectacular academic record, bringing 25 plus years of experience as accomplished finance professional, strategic problem solver, change manager, and visionary executive able to implement plans meeting current and future needs. Key experts in corporate finance, accounts, financial reporting, treasury and FX management, global tax, finance operations, risk, governance and compliance, fundraising and investor management, business finance and FP&A, leverage technology in finance and GRC domain, cost management, government license, etc. I would request Mr. Shailesh Agarwal to please come on the dais and share your insights.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know I got a most difficult task to keep you awake after such a good lunch. And since morning, there are a lot of jargons are being used. I'm sure you know everybody is using AI, digital transformation, Gen AI, robotics, and so on. And this is one more, ESG. Let me ask, how many of you know about ESG? What is ESG? Maybe. Okay. Anybody else? Environment, social, and governance. Okay. Why do we need ESG? Sorry? Okay. Good. Anybody else who would like to add to it? Climate change. Okay. Very good point. What kind of, what we will be leaving behind for the future generation? That is one of the key things for ESG.
Any business which we are doing, it should be socially friendly, and any business effects, right, maybe any discard of the business, it should not be socially unfriendly. Like any plastic elimination which should be not be used in business, or what are the protocols as a company which we are following so that our environment should be friendly along with our business.
Perfect. Great. So good to see, most of us are aware what is ESG all about. But I will try to cover the basic concept of ESG and how it is important for a CFO organization in next maybe 10 minutes or so. So ESG is nothing but a sustainability framework. And E stands for environment, S stands for social, and G stands for governance. So when I talk about environment, some of the key things which I mentioned about how do we do the use of renewable energy, how do we use the water, how much water we use, do we use the recycled water, how do we preserve the water, or any kind of resources. And then we have the emissions, how much pollution we are generating. Are we carbon neutral, are we not carbon neutral, or how do we do the waste reduction or disposal. Like today everybody is talking about electronic gadgets, right? Do we know how do we dispose of the electronic waste, right? Because it is very hazardous. We are talking about electronic vehicles now, and do we know what will happen to the battery after the 5 years? So all this comes under the environment bracket. This is just examples. There are so many KPIs as part of the environment bucket. Similarly, on the social side, are we doing enough for the society? Are we having the proper diversity in our company in terms of male and female ratio? Do we have proper health and safety measures? Do we have a good working condition within the company as well as the employee well-being? On the governance side, we were talking about GRC, right? Governance, risk and compliance management. So what all we are trying to do, in terms of are we following the rules, regulations of the law of the land where we operate? Do we have corporate governance within the company? Are we ethical? Are we not giving any bribery to any of the regulators or any of the third parties? So some of these things comes under the ESG framework, okay? Why it is important? Why sustainability is important? I think many of us just talked about it. How do we preserve our national resources? How do we mitigate the climate change? How do we have the diversity in terms production of the diversity and the quality of life as well as the social equity? How do we manage it? So these are the basic imperative of why sustainability is important. And as we, slowly this is picking up, and all the business leaders is trying to, get into the ESG, putting the ESG framework within the company, taking multiple initiative and so on. So we all finance professional only talk about bottom line, right? Revenue, cost, what is my bottom line? But when you talk about sustainability, there is a triple bottom line. One, in terms of financial numbers, how much profit I have, how much loss I have, what is my stock price, how much value I created. On the other side, when you talk about sustainability framework, we are also talking about people as an asset. What kind of impact we are making on the environment, which includes the planet as well as the people. So there are two elements of your bottom line also get added to your existing profit element. Now, what is the role of a CFO in terms of ESG, driving the ESG and driving the sustainability? So some of the function, if you look at ESG, environment part is primarily driven by the facilities department in most of the organization or infrastructure department. When you talk about S, the social element, typically it comes under the HR domain. When you talk about governance, it comes within finance or the legal function. So when company have to have the ESG framework, there are multiple stakeholders. And as a CFO, how do we build that strong partnership between multiple functions? How do we define those ESG measures? What kind of KPIs we would like to track and put proper policies, framework around it? To give an example, like in marketing team, we need to give a lot of customer gifts and all, right? And we are talking about sustainable supply chain management. If I need to give a gift, can I give something which is recycled? Or if I'm having a conference, rather than having a plastic water bottle, can I have the glass, glass bottles for the water, right? So these are the small things when you have to define in the organization as an ESG framework. And then how do we monitor it? It's very important to put some kind of systems in place, some kind of process in place so that you can capture all those KPIs which you have decided as part of the ESG framework and monitor them. And then also go for some kind of external certification. There is a EcoVadis score, I don't know how many of you know, but is one of the very well-known sustainability score where the external agency comes, look at your KPI, look at the improvement on those KPIs time to time and give you the one score, okay? And which is very important. And there are a lot of options for green financing. How many of you have gone in your company with sustainability linked loan? Anybody in this room? Nobody. So do you know bank has a special reserve, okay, a special program to fund the companies which are good in ESG score. And recently in Quest Global where I work, we have converted our loan of more than $200 million into ESG loan. And that is giving us a benefit of approximately 10 pips, in terms of interest cost. So there are a lot of financing options. Each bank have a sustainability team, and if you go to the bank and make your case, you can get a cheaper loan. That's the point I'm trying to make. So what kind of challenges in ESG? We keep talking about, environment, sustainability. Now all the CFOs are very busy in doing the financial reporting as per the US GAAP, SFRS, Ind AS, and I don't know what not. And now there's a non-financial reporting which is also coming. Some of the countries like, Europe, specifically Spain, Romania, if you cross a turnover which is beyond some threshold, other than the financial audit, you need to also do a non-financial audit. And non-financial audit typically around the sustainability framework, typically around a lot of the ESG parameters and so on. So the challenges which the CFO has in the ESG is primarily how do we plan it out? How do we bring all the departments, all the stakeholders together? Because it cannot be driven only by the CFO organization. It has to be driven by the multiple departments, whether it's a facilities, whether it's a infrastructure, whether it's a HR functions, or whether it's a legal function. How do we bring the internal control? And once we put the framework in place, how do we measure it in terms of, whether are we on the target, are we not on the target? I still remember when I was in Infosys, long back, we were doing a lot of things in terms of environment, energy saving, and so on. Different kind of stuff, Then a lot of data is getting generated in terms of your electric consumption, water consumption, your, HR metrics and so on. How do you put them together and make a sense out of it? Where some data might be coming from ERP, some data might be coming from different sensors and all, and bring all of them together and do the ESG reporting. So these are the different challenges which is a CFO typically face when they drive the ESG program in the company. Now, some of the things, I already talked about sustainability linked loan. If your balance sheet is leveraged, you should explore some of the loans so that you can get some interest cost reduction. There are multiple framework in terms of reporting. One is the GRI, then you have SASB or International Sustainability Standard Board. There are multiple disclosure. Even in India, SEBI has mandated the 1,000 companies based on their market cap to do this kind of disclosure. They're calling as BRSR, Business Responsibility Sustainability Reporting. Government is focusing on it. A lot of technology investment, the R&D is happening in this space, how to reduce the waste, how to make our climate change better, And non-financial reporting, as I talked about, is already, in place in many countries. In India also it is coming. So when we're talking about reporting, not just financial reporting, the non-financial reporting, and typically CFO has to get involved. And of course, our friends talked about AI, how to use the AI in accounts payable function. So maybe there is a lot of work is happening, how to use AI and all these stuff, even in the ESG space. So I kept it very short and sweet. I don't want to bore you after heavy lunch, I hope I kept you awake. I probably can take a couple of questions if anybody has any questions. But this is new things which I think all of you have to embrace. Just not talking about digital transformation, risk management, but I think the CFO have to talk about even the ESG going forward. Thank you everyone.